Welcome back to On Texas Basketball. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton. Going to talk about a massive game for Sean Miller and the Texas men, and look at post Vanderbilt for Vic Schaefer and the Texas women. A tough stretch for the ladies. But Gerry, let's start with the Texas men. Had a whole week off, and we'll see if that's a well-rested team or a team that needs to knock off some rust in Columbia Saturday night against Missouri. Gerry, this is about as much of a toss-up game as you can get at this point in the season. I was looking at Bart Torvik, the T rating. Torvik likes Missouri by 1.7 points. It's basically a coin flip game. According to Joe Lunardi, both these teams are among the last four in Texas, basically the first team in that group of four. Missouri, right now, the last at-large team in the NCAA tournament, according to Joe Lunardi. Gerry, this is one where, if you're going to get to 9 conference wins, let alone stay on the right side of the bubble, if you're going to get to 9, this is one you've got to have on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's Missouri feels like this is a must-win game for them because they're a little lower in NCAA net in some of the rankings, right? Even though they're 17-7, they're 17-7 and 7-4 in conference. Doesn't stack up for NCAA.net and Ken Palm and some of those things like Texas is 15-9 due to schedule. But yeah, I mean, look, this game, I don't think it's a must-win for Texas. Or the way I have it for Texas is, they have to win the home games against LSU, which is the next game up for Texas, and then win at home against Oklahoma at the end of the year. That gets them to 8. So then what does Texas have to do to get the 9-9, in which they're in the tournament, in my opinion, no matter what, is they have to win one of those remaining 5. At Missouri, at Georgia, Florida at home, which is the toughest task of all, at A&M, and at Arkansas. So, look, if you get Missouri, then I think you're 100% going to get the 9 wins. And if you get this game, it gives you an outside shot to get the 10 and do something that didn't look possible 3 weeks ago, right? Before the 3 wins in a row in SEC play. So is it a must-win for Texas? I'm not putting it there, but I do think if they won this game, they're going to get the 9-9. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament, barring major injury late or something crazy that happens. So it's a huge game for both teams. It's a sellout at Missouri. They're acting like this is the Kansas game for them right now. That's how big a game they're making this out to be in Columbia, Missouri. And like you said, Jeff, Texas has had a week off, some light practices, then got into game practices. Lucina Traore should be good to go unless something happens last minute. But Texas will be well rested. They'll have really good legs. Decent chance this game would probably be played in the high 70s, low 80s, as most of these games have been, and we'll get into that in a second. So it's a huge game for both teams. I lean more to must-win for Missouri, and if Texas gets it, I have no doubt they'll be an NCAA tournament team.
Gerry, here's my thing with getting to 9 wins. 8-10 for Texas means you, depending on what happens in the one-bid leagues or if anybody steals a bid, you might have some work to do in the SEC tournament to feel good about it. Does 9 keep you from avoiding Dayton is the big thing for me. If you get to 9 wins in SEC play, do you bypass Dayton at that point?
Yeah, I think so, because outside of LSU and Oklahoma, everything's a quad 1 game for Texas left. This is a quad 1 game because it's a road game at Missouri and where they're in the NCAA.net. Same for Georgia, same for A&M, same for Arkansas, Florida at home. I'm going to just put that on the back burner. That's just not a good matchup for Texas. And I'm not saying you can't win. Anything can happen in basketball, but that's the one I think is the toughest task. So everything left is quad 1 outside of LSU and Oklahoma. So if they get to 9-9, that means they've added another quad 1 win. And I think in this conference, the way it's stacking up, I do think 9-9 is a lock for Texas to be in the NCAA tournament, barring, Jeff, like you said. The only way it's not, and I do think it would be, is if in the SEC and the power conferences, there's a bunch of upsets, right? And a couple of unexpecteds win their tournament. Or you said in some of the one bid leagues, maybe somebody wins that tournament and you're still going to put in that other team. Like say St. Louis didn't win their conference tournament. St. Louis is still going to be in the NCAA tournament, right? And that's a multi-bid league, but that would ensure it that way. So that might take them to 3 bids in that league. So that's what could happen. To push, that's the problem if you're 8-10. You definitely have to go get 1, maybe 2 in the SEC tournament to keep yourself in that playing game, because there will be some upsets along the way. There's no doubt in conference tournaments. Anybody that's watched March Madness over the years knows that's going to happen.
Jerry, you mentioned Lucina Traore coming back. That to me was one of the underrated aspects of Modest's performance against Ole Miss, because you played that game without a backup big. So had he gotten in foul trouble or had an off night, you probably would have been in a world of hurt. You won that game with Dalen Swain not giving you much in terms of scoring, but the rebounding, assist, the team game, he was there as he always is. Jerry, going into this game, what I love about this team and what I love about this season is every time Sean Miller has challenged a guy, they've stepped up. They've answered the call. He's done it to Tremont Mark. He did it to Swain. He's done it to Modest. Is Jordan Pope the guy, Jerry, now that needs to really answer the call and turn it up a notch as you head down the stretch?
He's had some really big games for Texas over the last 2 years. He's a double-figure scorer in the SEC. And look, I think there's elements of it that's yes. I mean, look, he might have got a couple of questionable foul calls against Ole Miss, but put that away. He's had a fouling issue on three-point attempts this year. He's had some issues staying out of foul trouble. But yeah, I think it would help Texas greatly, because here's the one thing I'm not expecting against Missouri: Swain, Mark, and Matas to all have big games. It rarely works out that way, where all three of those guys, they say Swain's a 20-point, Matas is 16, and Mark is 16. That's unlikely on the road, right? I think that this team needs Pope to have one of his big games coming down the stretch, and I think it needs to happen on the road. I think the home games, I think they're okay if he's in that a 10, 11, 12, 13-point range. He hasn't turned the ball over this year, but he has at all. He's 17 turnovers. But I think he needs to have a big scoring game, and it needs to be on the road, because when you're not a great defensive team like Texas is not, and you score it at a high clip, you also tend to give up more points on the road. So I think that is big, and I think it would be great to see Pope go make 5 threes in a game and put up 21 points and kind of take some of that pressure off the top 3 scorers on the road. And I know people are saying, well, you never really talk about defense. Well, that's because this is an offensive team. If Texas gets to 9-9, if they do kind of an unthinkable for me and end up 10-8 after the way they started, it's going to be because of offense. It's not, the defense isn't going to go from ranked 106 in the country to 60. It's not going to happen like that. They're going to get incrementally better. But it's going to be offensive basketball that carries this team. So when I look at a team and how it has to maximize, I've always thought about this team offensively, because that is easily its best trait, is in Sean Miller's system. Dalen Swain is a player, what Matas can draw fouls, and this team's ability to score. I mean, 85 points a game. You know, Missouri averages 80. I think Texas is going to need to go into Columbia and score 83, 84, 85 points to win this game.
And Jerry, I don't want to spoil it, but for a team that scores a lot, there's one thing Missouri doesn't do well that actually, I don't want to say it's going to help Texas, but it might negate one of this team's biggest weaknesses.
Yeah, so look, they shoot 67.3% from the line. That's one of the worst in the SEC, one of the worst for major college basketball teams. Or if you want a comparison, Texas is 74.7 from the free throw line. And Mark Mitchell, their go-to guy, Duke transfer, really good player. He leads the team in scoring, rebounds, assists. Okay, he also shoots 65% from the free throw line. Okay, 28% from 3. Don't foul him on a 3. But if he has a near uncontested, he's a good guy to take a foul and put on the free throw line. That's the one thing I would say. A big off the bench, Sean Phillips, who is a shot blocker. He's an impressive athlete. That averages 8 and 5.3 a game, 1.5 blocks. Matas has to get him off his feet defensively, right, to negate his shot blocking. But you also can't then, on the other end, give up a dunk, an uncontested dunk. He shoots 45% from the line. You have to put him on the line. I think that is something key in this game, is who does Texas put on the free throw line. They have one free throw shooter, Jacob Cruz, over 80%. And then T.O. Barrett, and it's in a starting lineup. T.O. Barrett, a backup guard, is 83%. Another guard that starts Jacob Stone is 77. Everybody else is below 70 on the entire team. And that means your entire front court. That means your wings. So Texas can put them on the line more so than some other teams, but they got to know who to foul. But again, it can't be on 3-point shots. I mean, that's the one thing that kills you, is fouls on threes. But Mark Mitchell, if you put him on the line, you have a puncher's chance if that's who, because he has the ball in his hand a lot. He's attempted 262 field goals, 185 free throws. So put him on the line when in doubt.
Jerry, let's talk about the Texas women real quick. Tough loss to Vanderbilt on Thursday. Still, as of Friday, still fourth in the NCAA net rankings, but they're in a stretch where it's not so much the competition, but physically taxing in the middle of a stretch where they'll play four games in 11 days. The next one is Sunday afternoon in Knoxville against Tennessee. And Jerry, you look, the schedule is manageable. They've only got 2 ranked opponents left, and they're at the bottom end of the top 25 with Tennessee and Alabama. Jerry, do they need to win out to secure a 1 seed at this point? Is their margin for error now gone after the Vanderbilt loss?
I think it may be. It's hard to say, but look, when you look at what's left on the schedule at Tennessee, I mean, obviously that's a tough game. Tennessee doesn't have the backcourt Vanderbilt does, which may be the best in the country. But yes, if you need, again, though, it's a tough road because you have ranked games on the road at Tennessee coming up, and then at Alabama to close. But I do think Texas, if they want to get a 1 seed, because there's a chance you could get beat in the SEC tournament if you go deep in that, in a championship game or a semifinal game, as good as this league is, there's no cakewalks to the SEC championship tournament. That they need to win out, I think, to give themselves the best chance to be a 1 seed. Because if they take another loss, one of these losses actually will hurt them in an NCAA net coming up. Even though Tennessee's a road game, even though Alabama's a road game and they're ranked, any loss coming up will likely hurt them in NCAA.net. But the one thing I'll say in return to that is other teams have tough games remaining too. I mean, you look at Vanderbilt; they have Kentucky, they have Kentucky, Alabama, and at Tennessee, right? So they have tough games coming up too. Everybody in this conference is going to have tough games, but I do think the Texas women, if they can win these next 5, will still sit on that 1 seed line going into conference tournament time.
Yeah, South Carolina, Texas, and LSU 3, 4, 5 in the net right now. Vanderbilt at 7. So, Jerry, you might have, in theory, 4 SEC clubs fighting for those finals, because I think at this point UConn and UCLA have their ones locked up. So really you've got 4 SEC clubs battling out for 2 1 seeds when it's all said and done.
And South Carolina has a tough schedule. It's at LSU, at Bama, Ole Miss, who's ranked 14, and then at Kentucky. I mean, so they have 4 ranked opponents left on their schedule. And you know what that means for LSU? Well, they have South Carolina. So one of those 2 teams is taking another loss. That's kind of my point. And then LSU's at Ole Miss, and they have Tennessee too. Boy, Tennessee has a brutal schedule coming up. That's right. But so LSU or South Carolina is going to take another loss because they play each other. That's why I think it's important to win out for Texas right there.
No doubt. All right, Jerry, thanks for the knowledge and expertise as always. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. If you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, make sure you get over there. We're dropping basketball news, notes, and nuggets when we get them, but recruiting, team football coverage, baseball, softball, whatever we get, we're posting it over at ontexasfootball.com. So come join the forum and have some fun. Make sure that you like this video and that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. That way, whenever we go live or drop a video, you're not missing any of our Longhorn coverage all year round. For Jerry, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, welcome.